Oh, Pastor Zack, how you doing,
Hey, what's up,
bro?
man?
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, dude. I
I
feel
know.
it's been weird. I've been locked in the house. You know, you and me both are extroverted, and so I'm happy to be on here doing this. I'm happy to get to chat.
Yeah, bro, 100%, man. Well, I know that like Holy Week right now, and not even just Holy Week in general with
Yeah,
church life is crazy for you. So I
yeah,
really appreciate you taking the time and just kind of chiming in on what church life is
yeah,
like
man. Yeah,
for you
yeah,
pastors right now, man.
yeah, man. Of course. Yeah, it's an interesting time to be alive. That's for sure.
100%. Real quickly before we get started, I am basically begging PC to sponsor me non-beers, blonde brew.
Unreal.
I don't
Never
like,
had them.
no one likes spending money right now, and I
Yeah.
don't know if PC wants to give me anything for free either, but I'm gonna start begging them for a sponsor.
Hey, you never know. You never
Well,
know.
dude, so a quick story before we get into it. I don't know if I told you this when we caught up last night, but I was talking to a buddy of mine for the interview next week that
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
coming out, and we're just talking about like sobriety, and he's has this crazy story of like alcohol and
Right.
getting clean. And so halfway through, I realized he's telling me the story about his like his like journey to sobriety, and I'm just like drinking like this. And so halfway through, I had to like be like, okay, before you continue, I want everyone to know that I'm not being a jerk
That's
right
so
now.
funny. Yeah,
It
gotta
just
be
like kind of
careful.
it just kind of hit me. I was like, I'm not being a jerk. This is non-alcoholic. I'm on the same journey as he is. I promise. I'm not
That's
being.
so funny.
Yeah, man. Caught
That's
me off
amazing.
guard. But
Yeah,
yo,
yeah.
so we'll just kind of dive right into it.
Sure.
Straight up, just how it's crazy right now. Like, how is as like the pastor, and of course you have people behind you. You have a great team behind
Yeah,
you. But as a
100%.
pastor, like, what has this time been like having to adapt through this? Because everyone has to change everything on the fly. And from a pastor's perspective, yeah, hit me, man. What's that been like?
Yeah, it's ultimately it's been difficult. So obviously, like Mark, you said, I work at Campus Church Bayview, lead pastor. Feeling the weight of that right now for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been difficult, but I will kind of preface our conversation by saying like I do feel really lucky. Number one for our team, as you said, we have a great team. But knowing that I'm a young guy, and there's not too many times I get to say it's good to be a young guy.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is one of those times of like I've grown up with nothing different than Instagram, Facebook, like social media, that kind of stuff, right? And,
Right.
like I really feel I try not to complain too much because I do feel for those pastors out there that are on the tail end of their vocation, and for over half of their life none of this really was a thing,
Right.
right? So I'm glad, I'm blessed that like I'm a young person. We've got a fairly young team. So doing stuff on social media and the transition for us is a little bit easier than it is for certain people. And we're trying to make ourselves available to help as well. Like, so our worship for this Sunday is going out to 3 different churches, just to, try to help people in this situation
Yeah.
who that's the thing. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'll preface that. But obviously it's been difficult. Like I've been kind of saying the phrase, you throw out everything you think you know about doing your job, and
Right.
and start from scratch. And there's a lot of people trying to still do what they did 4 weeks ago, and it's, you just can't. You got to start from zero, start and write a new playbook, and figure out where to go from here. And you used to be able to go and meet with somebody and talk with them and walk them through difficult situations, and now you got to do that over Zoom or over the phone,
Right.
or whatever. And youth group, like it's, everything's been taken away. There's no hype, there's no music, there's no lights, there's no anything like that. It's just relationship and connection. So yeah, it's been interesting for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that actually brings me kind of off. Kind of didn't plan on asking you this,
Yeah.
you basically raised actually a really good point that trying to reach out and trying to help people and trying to be there for
Yeah.
people. Do you find that your congregation and like you maybe not just see even like our congregation. For those of you who don't know, I am a member of Campus Bayview
Yeah.
as well. I get to serve and volunteer there, and yeah, I love my church family. And
Yeah.
so, but like, do you find that like the congregation and like maybe like through pastor friends that and that you've been talking to, maybe you can lend what other pastors are kind of going through as well. Has like the congregation kind of like been like yes, like let's roll with this,
Yeah.
and they're reaching out to you over email or call, or do you find that people are kind of disappearing with all this? Like, how do you
Yeah.
find the congregation, like not just you, because like my girlfriend works like for you
Yeah.
in the church,
Yeah.
and I know you guys are doing a lot to reach out to people,
Yeah.
but are like the congregation reaching out to you guys at all? That's something I've never really thought about before.
Yeah, a little bit. I would say a little bit. I would say ultimately it depends where your church is at, like what your kind of social media and your digital out or digital reach was before.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's a
you
good
know,
point.
yeah, people. So we've been it's kind of weird. Like there's no in the middle. We've been at the absolute forefront of digital, but also doing everything like they were doing 50 years ago in terms of you know everything's going out online,
Right.
but a lot of our connections with people is like we're calling every single person that we at least have on our database who partners with us or is a member with us on a regular basis. And if you're watching this and we haven't called you, either we haven't yet or for some reason you're not on our database, so please reach out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll just say that.
I love
um,
it.
but it's one of those things of like we're trying to like we're picking up the phone and calling people, feeling like it's ancient, and the people like that we're talking to for the most part, like 90% of people are just so um, you know number one impressed, but also like it warms their spirit to know that like we're thinking about them, we're reaching out, we're praying for them, like we haven't just forgotten about them, and every person is a part of our family. And Mark, as you know, at church I refer to that as our family, and it's true. It's not just about the product on a Sunday morning, but it's about every single person that walks through our doors and chooses to get up and out of bed on a Sunday and come and hang out with us, right? So
Yeah, no,
that's weird.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. No, that's a good answer, man. And so, uh, how, like, I guess my next question was kind of what I just said as well. But I guess the next thing to ask is, like, on a personal level,
Mm.
as a like person, like you're a pastor, but you're a
Yeah.
human as well that has a career and has a job that, like what you said earlier in the conversation, has kind of looked a certain way
Yeah. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
a long time, even before you became a pastor, going to Bible school and all this stuff. It's there's been lots of things that have changed, but a lot of things haven't in a long time as well. So right now, like, how as a human, like, how do you find this has basically been challenging you
Yeah.
to kind of, because you like people who like you'll go to campus or who know you know myself, like you like do stuff like this, not a lot, but we try to have good social media presence, and
Yeah.
you like play drums at different like retreats, and you are not like scared to be like to talk to a camera. You're not scared to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
But is there anything on a like personal level
Yeah.
that's like really been like challenge, kind of taking you out of that comfort zone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. There's it's like I said, there's kind of two answers I have to this. So obviously, well, three answers. So I'll just get going.
Yeah,
There's
hit me.
there's
Give it all.
there's kind of the part of like, you know, I am kind of wishing now that I went to Seneca for video production.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like our
100%.
church, you know, like we're not a huge congregation. We have a great team. We have a lot of people in our church that have a lot of great abilities, and you know, we've been fortunate that way. But you know, like last week, it was up to me to edit the service video, and I apologize for anybody that had to watch it.
No, not at all,
Um,
man. No, not at all,
we're
dude.
doing our best, but that's the thing, right? Like I'm not a sound guy either, and we're trying to, you know, not just live by the rules but go above the rules. So like we're trying not to ask our sound guys to come in and mix because
That,
we just want them to stay healthy, right? So
yeah,
above church production, we care about people, and that's always been our thing.
of course.
And so and it, but you know, as you know, I love production too, so that's also important. um but yeah, it's been, personally, it's been tough because you know, I'm not a sound guy. I love playing drums. I love music. I have a decent ear, but not a sound guy. I'm not a video production guy. Doing my best. That being said, as I kind of said before, I'm lucky that I'm young enough to have some experience with these programs.
Yeah,
Um, you know, like I can fumble my way through and come up with something. But you know, on the other hand, so that's been a positive of being a young person. But on the other hand, you know, there's insecurities. If I can be like open for a second, there's
yeah, please
insecurities
do.
that come up for me, that, you know, being young, and you know, I've got my undergrad and I'm going to be starting my master's soon. But you know, compared to some of these guys 50, 60, some of these women 50, 60 years old that are just preaching, you know, straight fire of stuff that I've never even seen in the Bible before, right?
Right.
All of a sudden I'm out there in the fish pond online with these people, and I'm triple and quadruple, not that you don't on a regular Sunday, but you know, I'm checking my sources and going over stuff to make sure, you know,
100%.
everything that I say, somebody's not going to come back with me with you know, Campus Bayview is a whatever church, don't
Yeah,
go there.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Bunch of
Um,
heretics over
yeah,
there in
yeah, yeah.
Aurora.
Yeah, so it's that's a bit of it, like definitely been a tough kind of a thing for me. But you know, just trusting that, you know, trusting in my schooling and my studying and putting in lots of work, and you know, trusting that, you know, I, as you know, Mark, I pray anytime I speak, you know, God, even if it's not what's on my paper, these words have got to be yours,
Yeah.
because that's kind of where we're at. So yeah, I hope that kind of lets you under the hood a little bit of what's going on with us. But
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, listen, like for me, like a complete, like not the same, but
yeah,
I can definitely in like the past, like doing like playing music and doing music videos and stuff. It's obviously different. I'm not comparing the two,
oh
but
no, yeah,
for
go ahead.
me, like my stage is like my
Yeah,
home, right? And whatever happens on that stage is just natural, and it's
yeah,
not like you rehearse like the content,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
don't necessarily, once you're up there and the lights are on, you
yeah,
just flow. But when you have a camera in front of you, and especially as a pastor, like you're
yeah,
talking and there's like nobody there,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like that's one thing, like you're watching like not just our services but other services, that and like that's kind of been the cool thing. Like you
mhm,
and I had this conversation a couple
absolutely,
weeks
yeah,
ago, like getting the chance to kind of peek
yeah,
into how other churches do things. That's
yeah,
been really
absolutely,
neat.
yeah,
But you can tell, and I won't name any names off camera.
yeah,
I'll let you in
yeah,
know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah,
But there's certain like
yeah,
what do you call mega church
yeah,
pastors who are like incredible at what they do, but you can tell even for them,
yeah,
like preaching to nobody,
empty room, yeah,
but like you know thousands, but to no
yeah,
one, it's
yeah,
a learning curve
yeah,
for like the pros of the pros. Like
yeah,
it's not easy,
yeah,
and so I can only imagine, like there has to be moments when you're preaching where
yeah,
you're like like having to remind yourself to
yeah,
stay kind of like checked in and
absolutely.
focused on what you're doing.
Yeah, it's been interesting, you know, like we had to make a deal with ourselves like at the beginning. Just being like, you know, if there's a small mistake in the recording, it stays. Because you know, on Sundays, as you know, Mark, there's small mistakes all the time. It's the
Happens.
human element of it. it's just the way it goes. And we could spend hours and hours and hours making sure we've got, you know, audio that is produced to like absolute nines, and you know, go professionally record it in a studio and put it out. But you know, we just don't have the resources, and we're trying to be conservative with our spending, because that's a whole other thing.
That's
And
a whole other, yeah.
and so we had to make that deal with ourselves. Now, that being said, we are at this point, we're sending our audio down to Mr. Brandon Perro down in Toronto. He's mixing that for us. Shout out
Legend.
to Brandon Perro. Yeah, he's great. He's got some new stuff coming up, which is really cool. He's got his own website and all that. But he's an absolute pro. And you know, we record it up here, then we send it to him, and he makes it sound bearable. And and we put it out. So that's been a huge plus for us that way. But yeah, if there's a slight wrong chord, or if somebody's, you know, E string's a little bit out, it lives, right? It's just in it. And we had to make that a thing. And you know, but that plays into kind of what I'm going to say next is one thing that we've been saying since the beginning is, how do we put out excellent quality but keep authenticity? We, from the very first week, we never like tried to pretend there was people there, right? And I, you know, you can go back and forth, and somebody could debate me on that and say, no, your Sunday should look exactly like it does before, and you should just preach from your stage and pretend like there's people there, and blah, blah. But that's just not us. Like I said in the beginning, like, you know, we're very much a people-centered church, and we just tried to, from the very beginning, say, how do we make this as authentic as possible? So when I'm preaching, you know, I'm not looking around the room like being like, you in the back, like I'm looking I'm looking right at the camera, and I'm speaking to you at home, you know, and I think that hopefully connects with people. And because I think about people when I'm talking, do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like if I'm making a point, like, you know, oh, you might be going through this, I have exact people in our congregation in my brain that I know I'm talking to right across the camera. And that's how I'm trying to kind of stay in the game that way. But
yeah, no, 100%. Sure. And like, you know, that's actually a really good point that you made, that, and, you know, once again, just to relate to something that I know, if you've been listening to this is the second episode. And if you have not figured it out yet, I have a, like, look, now it's gonna come up. Now that I'm trying to say stutter, it's gonna hit. But even moments like right now, I stutter.
Yeah,
it is what it is, and I'm not gonna, like, every single time that I stutter, like you know, try to chop it up and edit it, or like restart the interview. It just is what it is. And so, like, for you, there's probably been moments where maybe you might have like said something, and you're like, oh, I wish I delivered that differently, as you're still like preaching, but you just gotta power through and move through it.
There's a couple of times I flubbed a word or something like that, and I just am like, oh, and I just correct myself and keep going. I don't restart the video or anything. I just you know, just correct myself in a not awkward way and laugh it off and keep going. And that's always been a thing for me. This is something a debate I've talked about with some pastors, and some people say, like, you should, if you make a mistake, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just young, I don't know. If you make a mistake, don't acknowledge it, just go to the next word and move on, like, as quick as you can.
Right.
If I make a mistake, I kind of like correct myself, and then I'll say excuse me or sorry, or I'll kind of laugh. Like if I said something really dumb, or I'll make if I get tongue tied, I'll go, you know, like, oh, what I meant to say was,
right.
And, you know, that's just me, right? And take it or leave it. And, you know, some people will maybe leave our church because they don't like it. Who cares?
Well,
like, that's me, right? So.
Well, listen, Zach, the next time, sorry, pastor, my pastor, Zack. The next time that you say something and you flub a word, just remember that today our Prime Minister Trudeau flubbed a couple words during his meeting, during his address. So don't worry, don't worry. But but no, that's a good point. And like, listen to, I think that this might not be the case 100% for everybody, but I think a lot for our generation and for the
Right.
generation coming up, that
Yeah.
perfection isn't really
Yeah.
like what it used to be, right? Like
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
there's like we're kind of coming out of that. At least this is my opinion.
Nope.
This could
Yep.
be wrong, but
Yep.
but 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 we're like we're basically coming out of that where
Yep.
everything has to be polished and suit and tie and
Yep.
perfect, and by suit and tie I don't mean
Yeah. It's the, yeah,
necessarily
I get you.
physical, but
Metaphor.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it has to be like
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And like this is actually like the right generation,
Mhm.
if I can say that as respectfully as
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
can, the right generation to be going through it,
Yeah.
because we just want people to be genuine. We're not looking for like we just want you to be real. And
Yeah.
like our generation, it seems like our generation more than previous can
Mhm.
sniff out when
Yeah. It seems to be.
you're
Yeah.
putting up a front, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's always been our thing is like maintaining authenticity. And Mark, with me, like I'm a young guy. I'm 26 years old. For those who don't know, lead pastor, which is unheard of, and to be a pastor of a church of over 200 is, again, like at my age, is kind of a weird thing. And but we're just trying to stay true to who we are. And sometimes I'm wearing, I got my hair done, I look nice, and other days I got my hat on because it's a come as you are kind of a thing. And
Yeah, yeah.
we don't want to lose that. And like I think what you're saying is correct. I think there's a different kind of definition for like church perfection or like really high excellence. Like one of our values at our church is excellence, is doing everything we can with excellence. And but that doesn't mean everything's perfect, and if you play a wrong note, you're cut from worship team. But it means right, like, but it means like doing everything we can because we're doing it for God the best that we can. And I could go, maybe I can spend an extra hour making sure that light is correct, or I could just spend an extra hour playing video games and leave it. Well, I'm going to
Yeah,
spend an extra hour making sure that light is correct. So I mean, we're not, as you know, Mark, we're not lax with our stuff. We try to do everything with excellence,
of
but
course.
while maintaining that authenticity and just trying our best in every way. But at the same time, like nobody's getting shot down if they flub a word or whatever.
Or they kick a power bar that has their worship leaders in your system.
Yeah, yeah,
One
yeah,
of our bass players
yeah.
did that. We won't.
Yeah,
We won't.
somebody.
Yeah, we won't name names.
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
but yeah, 100%, man. And so
Yeah,
I do have one more question. We'll keep
yeah,
this talk kind of short and sweet, and I
sure.
hope that just kind of lets people into what um um, is kind of going on in the brains of pastors right now.
Yeah,
So yeah, one more question, but I have one more question before the one more
sure,
question.
sure.
From talking to pastor friends of yours, whether it's like lead pastors or youth pastors or whatever capacity, I know you have friends that are youth pastors of pretty large churches, and you have friends that are basically lead pastors of like your smaller churches. Like, do you find that overall, like you guys, well, not you guys, but like the whole crew's kind of like
Yeah,
raising up like into the challenge, or like you find that there are some people right
yeah.
now, and maybe even not people that you're super tight with, but do you find that there are some people right now that this is really kind of going over
Yeah.
their head and they're not sure how to kind of keep this going?
Yeah, definitely. I have a really good friend of mine, Brandon. He's a youth pastor at Queensway Church down in Toronto, and
Yeah.
it's been really good. I talk to him, every other day right now. It seems to be there's a group of us that are really kind of banding together to say like,
Yeah.
how do we get through this? And he's encouraging us, and like they're a large church, they have what seemingly unlimited resources, and they're able to do kind of whatever. And um, but he's calling to encourage us. He watches every one of our Sundays and every one of our services. And, he gives us some positive feedback and some things we could we could implement or do better, or because they've got such a large staff, a lot of ideas, a lot of brains thinking, and so he's got some constructive stuff for us. And but it's nice, like he gave us a big compliment yesterday, just saying, you guys are with what you're doing. He said you're doing really well, and you're way beyond a church of 200, which was a really nice thing for him to
Yeah,
say. And
that's awesome.
and that's not obviously, me, Mark, that's not a prideful thing. That is just a great team, and we're working our butts off to make sure things get done. And there seems to be a group of people that are really banding together and trying to come together to make this happen. And then there's those who are kind of going off on their own, being like, well, we've got to figure it out, leave us alone, right? Like,
Right.
they can do their own thing, that's cool, whatever. I won't even go down that road, but yeah, but it's there seems to be like some good camaraderie happening between churches right now, and we're better together. And
100%.
the thing too is with some, I do feel bad for some of these smaller churches. Like I feel bad enough for us at 200 and with the resources that we have, but a church of 50, 60 with one pastor, like that's tough. There's a lot going on there right now. Because you're thinking about video, you're thinking about audio, you're doing your own actual job that you're doing week in and week out. You're meeting with people, and then at that point, like, you're the one applying for the subsidies from the government, and you're like looking at all this stuff and trying to figure it out. And it's I feel for those guys right now. I'm definitely praying for those churches, and
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for shout out to Asian Court Church, or One Church CO down in Scarborough.
Yeah.
They actually put out a video inviting churches, being like, hey, if you want to use any of our stuff, use it. But which is kind of nice, but it's also like, okay, that could be like self-promotion. But they went beyond that, and they said, if you can't record your Easter message, if you have no idea, come to our church and our production team will record you for your church. Send that to
that's
you.
great.
Yeah. And then they even said,
good for them. I didn't know that.
Yeah. If you need help setting up online giving, we can set that up for you in your church. We can coach you how to set that up. And if that's not a reality for you, they actually said like that people can donate online to their church, and they'll put it through their finance team and write it to the church that needs it, and that those come from. So I have a lot of respect for churches like that are trying to reach out and help the little guys right now.
Mm-hmm.
And because like I said, we're better together. But there's churches out there right now that if they don't get any government funding, and if they don't, they could be non-existent in a month, right?
Yeah, bro. And on a personal level, as well as in a business level, whether that's church, whether that's you're self-employed, like trusting God is a whole different, like, it's the same ball game, but now it's like
you're on EI,
like next level. Like it's crazy. So in 60 seconds, we gotta wrap this up. Between you and me, I'm late for our youth our youth group meeting. But I got to apologize to Pastor Elise after this. But really quickly, man. I know this is kind of a loaded question to make you answer quickly, but you're a pro. Like, beyond just Pastor Zack, as just Zachary Bowman, what's God teaching you right now, man? Because like your ears, like anybody in like ministry, your ears and your heart have to be open right now, because it's just so much changing every day. What's God teaching you right now, man?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, not getting to see the people that God's kind of entrusted you with right now, and not getting that personal connection, being through a screen, so we're learning new ways practically to connect with people. But a big thing, it sounds stupid, but patience is one, because my patience has been tested over and over and over again. But there's the song we're singing this Sunday. It's what's the name of the song? Victory, Elevation. I'm gonna see a victory. And it says, it talks about what the enemy wants to use for evil, you turn it and use it for good. And I think what we're learning in this is that God, even though this is a terrible situation, just getting to see all the sweet moments in it. And obviously my prayers go out to families who have been affected by COVID and who have lost through this. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. And I don't know why it's happening, but I'm excited to see, you know, what the enemy is trying to use to take us down. You know, God is putting these sweet moments out there where you get to connect with people or in new ways. And, you know, I read a blog today if, you know, maybe COVID-19 is the killer of consumer church, because
Hey,
we're doing things all different. And you know, it's I read this other thing, and it's like, it's a beautiful thing when the only thing left in your life is God. And they weren't saying, they were saying that to be like, you know, when sports is gone, when work is gone, when, you know, if you have your family and those around you and you've got God, then you're supposed to have all you need. So if
dude, that's it.
but it's tough, man. I'm right there. I'm missing my sports. I'm missing everything, but learning to just appreciate the things that I have and be content with where I'm at. And as a pastor, I'm probably sound stupid saying that, but I'm right there with everybody
Oh,
else.
dude, 100%, man, 100%. Well, bro, the more that we talk, the more things I want to ask you, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna get in trouble by
Part
someone who
two.
works for you. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna let you go, bro. Zach,
That's
thank you
good.
so much for joining me
Thank you.
on the Low Podcast. Again, PC, give me a call.
Love it.
I'll see you, and yeah, we'll talk soon, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you.
Cheers.